Today we're tackling excerpts from a pretty influential book, one that's had a recent refresh, Your Money or Your Life, originally by Vicki and Joe Dominguez, and the new one has input from Mr. Money Mustache, too.
Yeah, and it's not your typical finance book. It's not about picking stocks or like super strict budgets. The big idea really is right there in the title almost. They say it's not really about money.
It's about life.
Right.
Using money as a way to measure our life energy, that finite resource.
Exactly. That's the core concept. Your time, your energy, that's what you're really trading for money.
So our journey today, we're going to unpack that. Looked at this money trap idea, how we get caught thinking buying things brings happiness. Then how to actually measure your life energy in dollars. That's fascinating.
And then evaluating spending against what you really value.
And finally, the path the book lays out to financial independence, which, spoiler, isn't just about being loaded. It's more about freedom.
Yeah, freedom and choice. We'll walk through the main ideas, some of the steps they suggest. It's about shifting your whole relationship with money, really.
Okay, let's dig into that first big idea. This illusion that buying more stuff or just having more automatically makes life better. We all feel that pressure, don't we?
Oh, absolutely. It's everywhere. Convenience, status, luxury items. And we're really good at justifying it, aren't we? Telling ourselves it's not just a whim, it's a true passion or an investment.
Huh, totally. My fourth coffee maker isn't clutter. It's proof of my deep commitment to artisanal brewing.
Exactly. And the book talks about this thing called the fulfillment curve. Basically, at the start, more money helps. A lot. Covering your basic needs, food, shelter, safety, huge boost in well-being.
Makes sense. Gets you out of survival mode.
Right. Then maybe you add some comforts, security, satisfaction still goes up. But it doesn't just keep climbing indefinitely.
It levels off.
It really does. The curve flattens. Research they mentioned suggests, beyond a certain point, maybe around $75K a year for day-to-day happiness in the U.S., roughly more money doesn't really equal more happiness.
And then, it can actually start to dip.
That's the downside of the curve. You get more stuff. Now you need more time, more energy to deal with it. Cleaning, storing, maintaining. Maybe you feel pressure to keep up appearances. That adds stress. The initial thrill fades, and you're just left with the burden.
So it starts actively working against your happiness.
Yeah. And that point where more money isn't helping and might even be hurting, that's often where people start thinking about the cost, which leads to that really striking phrase they use, the idea that maybe we're not making a living,
but making a dying.
Wow.
That's heavy.
It is powerful, though, right? It just nails that feeling of trading away your health, maybe your relationships, your joy, your limited life energy for a paycheck, especially if the job itself is draining.
And then you need the money you earned from that draining job just to recover from the job.
Yeah.
You buy distractions, comfort food, those escape vacations.
Exactly. It's a cycle. The job drains you, the money tries to fill you back up, but it's a trap.
A trap society kind of sets up for us.
The book argues, yes. This whole money game, whoever dies with the most toys wins. Planned obsolescence, pushing upgrades, fashion trends, ads linking identity to products. It keeps the consumption engine running.
And psychologically, we're not really wired to fight it easily, are we? The book mentions this idea. Our brains are great at spotting immediate danger, like a tiger.
Right, fight or flight.
But slow burn problems, like debt piling up slowly, or the long-term effects of our habits, those don't set off the same alarms. So it's hard to consciously hit the brakes.
You really have to make an effort to override those defaults. And that starts, according to the book, with seeing the basic exchange clearly.
Which brings us to the absolute core idea, the really game-changing part. Money is just traded life energy, your time, your effort, limited, irretrievable.
That's the foundation. Every single dollar represents a piece of your finite existence. The commute, the stress, the hours you didn't spend with loved ones, that's the real cost.
So the first practical steps are about getting really honest about this trade in your own life. Step 1, making peace with the past.
Yeah, basically looking back, how much have you earned, ever? And what do you tangibly have to show for all that life energy you traded? The tool for this is calculating your net worth.
Your assets minus your liabilities. What you own versus what you owe, like a personal balance sheet.
Right. Cash, investments, house, car, minus mortgage, loans, credit cards, student debt. Just the facts. No judgment, just a snapshot of where you've been financially.
Okay. Then step 2, being in the present. Tracking your life energy. And this involves figuring out your real hourly wage.
And how's that different from just, salary divided by hours?
Well, because your salary doesn't factor in all the hidden costs of having the job.
Ah, right. Like commuting time and money.
Exactly. And work clothes. They call it costuming. Meals bought because you're at work or too tired. Money spent de-stressing. Maybe even those vacations that are purely about recovering from work.
All those things you wouldn't spend time or money on if you didn't have that specific job.
Right. So you add up all those extra hours and dollars, subtract them from your pay and your total time commitment, and you get a much clearer, often lower number for what an hour of your life energy is actually netting you.
That sounds potentially depressing.
Huh? Maybe, but also revealing. And then the really big part of step 2. Track every single cent. In and out.
Every coffee, every subscription, every impulse buy, everything.
Okay, that sounds intense. Maybe even a bit judgy.
The book stresses the attitude here is key. It's not about judgment. It's about curiosity, discernment. You're just observing, seeing where the life energy is actually going. Is it bringing fulfillment? Or is it just leaking away? They say this process awakens this inner superpower almost, that part of you that knows what you really want.
And there are examples, right? Like that guy Don S., who slashed his food spending.
Yeah, exactly. He wasn't trying to deprive himself. He just saw how much was going to lunches out.
Yeah.
So he started packing lunches, cooking more, saved a ton. It wasn't sacrifice. It was just awareness leading to a natural shift.
Awareness leads to instinct, leads to alignment.
I like that. Okay, so this tracking feeds into step 5, making life energy visible with a wall chart. Sounds kind of old school.
It can be. Physical or digital, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But the point is to visually track your income and expenses. Seeing those lines move over time, income, expenses, and later investment income, it's incredibly powerful. Remember Nina N., her income went literally off the chart. She had to tape more paper up. That's amazing. Seeing that progress makes it real. Okay, so you've got the data you're tracking. Step 3 is evaluating your information. What does that mean?
It's not about creating a budget in the traditional sense, like you must spend X on groceries. It's about looking at your numbers, your patterns, and understanding your reality. The book uses a diet analogy. Eat when hungry, what your body needs. Stop when full. Consciously.
So applying that to money, look at your spending categories and figure out what's truly necessary or fulfilling for you, finding your personal enough point.
Exactly. Distinguishing needs from wants, or maybe needs from just ingrained habits or cravings driven by advertising or stress.
And this evaluation gets really focused in step 4, which they call the heart of the program, asking the 3 questions.
Right. For every single spending category you ask, 1, did I get fulfillment, satisfaction, value back that was proportional to the life energy I spent?
Okay, makes sense.
2, is spending my life energy this way aligned with my deeper values and my life purpose?
Getting deeper now.
And 3, how would this spending change if I didn't actually have to work for money anymore?
Wow. Okay. And then you mark each category. Plus for fulfilling, minus for unfulfilling necessary, 0 for neutral.
Yep. And the book argues this isn't just like an intellectual exercise.
Yeah.
Asking these questions taps into our basic drive to avoid pain and seek pleasure. When you shine a light on those minus expenses, the ones draining your life energy without real return or alignment, you naturally start moving away from them. It helps you spot your gazingas pins.
Gazingas pins, what are those?
It's their quirky term for those little automatic, maybe habitual or even addictive buys. Things you do without thinking that just siphon off life energy without adding real value. That daily latte, unwatched subscriptions, sale items you don't need.
Gotcha. The things you buy on autopilot. Seeing them through the life energy lens helps you cut back without feeling deprived because they weren't really fulfilling you anyway.
Precisely. And it highlights how spending reveals your actual values, not just the ones you say you have. The book might ask, are you spending 25 life energy hours eating out but only 8 playing with your kid? Do you say you love art but spend more on gadgets?
Oof. Yeah, the numbers don't lie.
Huh.
Which brings us back to life purpose. That sounds big. Do you need some grand, world-changing mission?
Not necessarily. They define it more like an overarching direction, something that embodies your core values, your dreams, what gives meaning to your time once you're free from just earning a living. Could be family, community, like Amy and Jim D, or creative work like Ted Y, reconnecting with writing.
So it's personal. It's about what gives your life meaning and direction.
Exactly. And they ask you directly, what makes you happy? What values won't you compromise? If you got $1 million tomorrow, what would you do all day? And what's one thing you could ditch right now to be happier besides a person?
Those questions definitely make you stop and think, go beyond the surface level.
Which is crucial for aligning how you use your life energy.
The book also tackles our view of work itself. Historically, the fight was for less work time. Now it's often about full employment, tying our whole identity to jobs, and this job charming idea.
Right, expecting one job to be everything, fulfilling, adventurous, community, security, status, and pay the bills. That's a lot to ask.
Totally. And it makes us undervalue unpaid work, doesn't it? Like Nancy's story tracking all her time, paid and unpaid.
Yeah, she was shocked how much life energy went into childcare, housework, stuff she didn't even think of as work because it wasn't paid, but it absolutely uses life energy.
Seeing that whole picture is vital.
And it means maybe your passion doesn't have to be your job. Financial independence, FI, lets you pursue passions without needing them to pay the rent.
Okay, which leads into step 7. Valuing your life energy, maximizing income. Sounds conventional, but the framing is different here, isn't it?
It is. It's not about greed. It's about respecting the value of your limited life energy. So the idea is strive for the highest pay you can get that's consistent with your health and your integrity.
Getting fair compensation for the piece of your life you're trading.
Exactly. And also bringing your best self to the work, regardless of the job. Work for yourself, meaning work with excellence and integrity because you value your own energy, not just because the boss is watching. Job satisfaction, they argue, often comes more from your attitude than the task itself.
Nina N's story, again, starting as a maid, but working with that internal integrity.
And eventually becoming an executive director with that income soaring off the chart. Her internal shift changed her external results. So the question for you listening is, could you increase your income without selling your soul or wrecking your health? What's the work you do for free? And what do you really like and dislike about your current paid work?
Tough questions, but necessary. Okay, so you're tracking, evaluating, valuing your energy. How does this snowball into financial independence?
It happens almost automatically. As you spend more consciously, aligned with values, expenses naturally tend to drop. As you maximize income ethically, valuing your time, you have more surplus. Debt gets paid off, savings build faster.
Leading to step 8, catching fire, the crossover point.
This is the magic moment, mathematically speaking. It's when the income from your investments is enough to cover your monthly expenses.
And the wall chart helps visualize this.
Definitely. You estimate your potential investment income. So, you take your total capital savings, investments, and apply a reasonable, conservative long-term growth or withdrawal rate. The FIRE community often uses 4% per year as a benchmark, based on historical data for safe withdrawal. Calculate the monthly income that represents.
And draw that line on your chart. And when that line crosses above your expense line.
Bingo. Crossover point. You've caught fire. Your accumulated life energy, your capital, is now generating enough new energy income to cover your ongoing energy use expenses. You are no longer required to trade your time for money to live.
Wow. And the book mentions 3 pillars for FI security: capital, cushion, and cash. Capital is the investment principle.
Cushion is like your emergency fund for short-term bumps. And cash, that's extra savings, maybe for big future things, but it's also psychological. It's the proof you have more than enough, really helps with peace of mind.
That whole process must create a massive mental shift. Knowing you're working towards a definite self-defined finish line, not just vaguely towards retirement age.
Completely changes the game. Your relationship with work, time, everything shifts.
So you've saved the capital, hit FI. Step 9 is investing for FI. How do you make that money work for you reliably?
Yeah, the goal here isn't necessarily hitting home runs. It's about preserving the capital and generating a steady income stream you can live on. It means becoming knowledgeable enough to make smart choices, not be ruled by fear or hype.
The sources mention a few approaches. Bonds were Joe Dominguez's main thing.
Originally, yes, especially U.S. Treasury bonds. He was working in an era of really high interest rates, so bonds provided safe, predictable income. You're lending money to the government. They promise to pay you back with interest. Very secure.
But times change. Now, low-cost index funds, or ETFs, are huge, right? Especially in the FIRE world.
Definitely. People like John Bogle pioneered them. Even Warren Buffett recommends them for most folks. They track the whole market, or big chunks of it, passively. Super low fees because no one's actively trying to pick winners. You get broad diversification. But unlike bonds, they are volatile. You have to ride out the market ups and downs.
Real estate investing is another path mentioned.
Buying income properties, duplexes, small apartments. Scott Trench's method is noted. Using low down payments, living in one unit, letting tenant rent cover the mortgage and maybe provide income. He sees being a landlord as a community service. Done, right? And there's Dorothy and Larry, who used real estate and grew their nest egg even after FI by keeping expenses low.
And briefly, lending to or partnering in businesses.
Right. And a really important point, socially responsible investing, SRI, making sure your investments align with your values.
So avoiding companies that do harm, maybe seeking out ones doing good.
Exactly. Or shareholder activism, or investing in local community projects. If you value local food, maybe invest in a local farm. If you care about climate, invest in renewables. Your investments become another expression of your values.
Makes sense. It's about finding strategies that work financially and feel right to you. Okay, so life after FI. It's not just sitting on a beach necessarily.
Not unless that's your purpose. The book paints it as freedom. Freedom to finally pursue what truly motivates you, guided by that life purpose we talked about, not by a clock or a boss. It could be projects, learning, volunteering, travel, art, or just resting, recovering. There might be an adjustment period, sure, but you find a new rhythm based on your values.
And a big part of this is financial interdependence.
Yeah, realizing you don't need money for everything. Building community, sharing skills and resources, DIY projects, relying on each other reduces the need for cash. Community is presented as a huge asset, and building practical skills makes you more resilient.
Which connects to creative frugality. Sounds like penny pinching, but it's framed differently.
Very differently. It's about a high joy-to-stuff ratio. Not deprivation, but getting maximum fulfillment and use out of your resources, your time, your energy, your things. Using things wisely, fully. Finding your personal enough point where you have what you need and appreciate it without excess or waste.
And there are tons of practical examples given for this.
Oh yeah, like stop trying to impress people with stuff you buy. Avoid high-interest debt like credit cards.
Take care of what you have, maintain your possessions, look after your health, but also know when old stuff is costing more energy than it's worth.
Right. Reuse, repurpose, learn DIY skills, fix things, make things. Ask, can I do this myself, before paying someone.
Research purchases deeply. Look for value, durability, multiple uses, not just the lowest price tag. Compare, haggle, buy used when it makes sense.
Find free or cheap ways to have fun. Explore locally. Enjoy simple pleasures.
Think creatively about housing, lower cost area, housemates, smaller place, remote work. Remember Ted Y selling those extra trucks once he saw their true life energy cost?
Good example. Cook at home more, garden if you can, buy seasonal food, huge savings there.
Travel smarter camping, budget sites, travel hacking, staycations.
Cut kid costs AP tests, community college first.
Rethink gifts and celebrations. Focus on experiences and meaning, not just spending money.
Yeah, it's not just about saving cash, is it? It's often better for the planet, too. Less consumption, finding that sweet spot of enough.
And you don't do this in isolation. Accountability is key. The book talks about money talks.
Opening up about money with friends, partners you trust?
Exactly. Takes it out of the shadows. Makes it less about shame or confusion, more about shared learning and support. Saying your insights out loud makes them stick.
So, wrapping it all up, this journey the book describes, it's a real transformation, isn't it? From being kind of stuck, maybe unaware in the money trap,
to gaining this incredible awareness and intentionality. Learning to direct your life energy, your money, consciously towards what truly matters, your values, your purpose. It's about shedding fear, taking back control, and ultimately gaining freedom. So what's the takeaway for you listening to this?
I think it's that financial independence isn't some abstract dream for lottery winners. Your money or your life presents it as a practical path, achievable through conscious choice, self-awareness, and yeah, maybe questioning some of those societal defaults about work and spending.
It's a journey that starts inside with awareness, then moves outward to action, and aligning your life energy with what you find meaningful. The ultimate goal is freedom. Freedom to live fully, based on purpose, not just paychecks.
It's a really powerful framework for looking at, well, everything, not just your bank account.
And we'll leave you with that final thought to chew on, straight from the source. If you didn't have to work for a living, what would you do with your time?
Yeah, really sit with that one. The answer might surprise you.
We hope this deep dive gave you some food for thought, maybe a new perspective on your own relationship with money, and maybe more importantly, with your life energy.